I just look at this team that continues to lack an identity. It's very frustrating, and I'm sure you can agree to this. Um, Even with the struggling Mets teams in the past, they still had an identity to a degree, but you said to yourself, oh, their glaring issue is this, and this is why they're not succeeding. Well, the Mets, even with their continued woes on getting length outside of guys like, McLean and Peterson for the most part, they have had such a glaring hole in that regard that while that holds true, what even holds a greater truth is that as we saw in this series finale against Atlanta, the Mets blow that 2-0 lead, which it feels like they've blown endless leads over the past north of a month now. And then they have no real clue how to retaliate, even against the lesser Atlanta Braves. The same would apply if it's the Washington Nationals. It really doesn't matter who the team is. It seems like it's kind of that same outcome should they find themselves initially blowing that lead. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's in a way they're kind of like the bizarro OMG Mets. They are the opposite of what they were last year. Last year was like after that horrible start, they were never out of a game.
Right.
They were going to bounce back every time, even if they didn't always win. You go back to that Phillies game 2, I think, when Vientos hit the home run. We're all losing our minds. They wind up losing that game anyways, which is like wound up being fine. But it's like even if they lost, they were always punching back, and
Right.
they won more times than they lost in those situations. I mean, we haven't seen that at all this year, and
Mm-mm.
that's I think has been really frustrating because it's almost like the Joker putting the makeup on in the mirror meme at this point of like we keep expecting like, okay, this is the time that they're gonna come back in the ninth. This is the time they're gonna punch back. This is where Soto is gonna have his like signature moment. And it's basically winds up being the same game every time. I was looking it up before the game, or before the podcast, and the Mets have not come back from a deficit after the fifth inning in a month.